One. I think there we go. Let's take our Bibles and turn to Ecclesiastes Chapter 5. Let's continue to keep Kim Tanner in our prayers. She's going for a 5th interview for a job, which is a good thing. She's in the running. Now, she thinks it will be this week sometime, so let's continue to pray for her for that. Any other prayer requests before we begin? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For the Hall family, Rocky Melanie, their son, he broke his wrist.
He's in Nigeria? He's in Ghana.
The son, he's 13, I think.
Oh, with Brother Spears.
But it's Brother Rocky Hall, the pastor.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is the pastor well?
He is not feeling well. As I was talking to Joe Beth a little while ago, and I think he's been battling a cold. He's done all the COVID tests and all negative, but just a very severe coughing cold that he has. So remember to pray for the preacher. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
My grandmother, she's 91, and she joined us for Thanksgiving, and I would perceive that she is not doing well, and so my mom and aunt need to make a decision for either assisted living
Wow.
or to move in with my aunt, so that's heavy on their heart, especially for my mom. I think she feels guilty, so I just would like for them to have peace of mind and wisdom.
Okay. It's for health and for living arrangements for Kim's grandmother.
Her name is
Claire.
Caudle, C-A-U-D-L-E.
C-A.
C-A-U-D-L-E.
Claire. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Whoever that is on the email, Felix Sober, whoever it is.
I was wondering who that was. I don't have any idea. Felix Solar. Okay. Brother Josh, would you mind praying? There's the Hall family for the preacher, for Kim's job situation with the interviews that are coming up, her grandmother, Claire Caudle, and Felix Solar.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to come together. Father, I pray that you be with all of these requests, the Hall family. For Rocky, he's going through this trouble and going through the Ghanaian hospitals. I know that can be trying and bring fear and also bring pain. So Father, I pray that you just be with the family, give them a doctor that will be understanding and patient and kind. Father, that the healing will come quickly. Father, I also pray for Miss Kim, as she's been waiting on you for the correct job and going through so many interviews. Father, I thank you that you've brought her this far. I pray for this last interview. I pray that you'll give her wisdom. I pray that you'll also make this very clear that this is the path that she should go down. And if it's not the correct one and you've got something better, I pray that you'll close that door and open the next door and make it very evident. Father, I also pray for Claire Caudle and the situation there. Father, I know that you call your Holy Spirit the Comforter, and I know that you also bring peace that passes all understanding and give guidance and wisdom. Father, we ask you for all of that in this situation, that your will will be done in the best way. I also pray for this gentleman who's been in the hospital for such a long time, and we've gotten so many emails on it. I don't know the exact situation there, but I know that there's been ups and downs. There's been issues with the amount of oxygen he's been getting and with the kidneys. Father, I just pray that through all of this, your will will be done, that you'll give strength, you'll give wisdom, and Father, that you'll bring healing, and that it will be to the benefit of your kingdom. Father, I pray for our pastor who's not been feeling well. Father, I thank you so much for what you've done for him and his surgery and how you worked everything together for good. Father, I pray that you'll continue to work in his body with this sickness. I don't know the nature of it, but you do. I just pray enjoys the Sunday school lesson. I pray that you'll bless the study that he's done. Father, I pray that we'll have eyes that will see and ears that will hear, that not only will we hear what your word has to say, but that we will be ready to apply it as we go. I also pray for the Sunday morning service. I'm not sure who's preaching, but I pray that your Holy Spirit will do a work in our hearts and in our lives. We ask this all in Jesus' name.
Thank you so much. I usually get here about 8:30 on Sunday morning because I have a lot to do, get the music ready and all that, and it got to be 9 o'clock and nobody was here. About 5 after, Eugene showed up. 9:30, me and Linda and Eugene were about the only ones here. I'm thinking, did the rapture happen? Did everybody else go and I'm still here? But luckily, after 9:30, a few of the people showed up. Take your Bibles and turn to Ecclesiastes Chapter 5. Last week, we started in Ecclesiastes, and I said there were two broad messages in the 20 verses in Ecclesiastes. Number one, the message was worshiping God reverently. Talked about how we need to approach God, and I won't get into any of that today, or maybe just a little bit. The second part, which is what we'll cover a lot today, is this: the vanity of wealth and materialism. Solomon's really clear about that, and he speaks about that throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, that wealth and the things that we strive for in life are vain, and they're not good for us in the long run, and I'll really dive into that in just a minute. Verses 1 through 3 talked about this: coming to God, more to hear him and to obey him than to speak. You know, we can go to God often. Lord, I need this. I need this from you. This is what I need in life. But he wants us to come to listen to him and obey him more than to be blathering at the mouth with words. Verses 4 through 7, which we talked about last week, was keeping your vows. Make sure when we promise God something that we do it and that we fear God. God should be feared. I gave the example last week of my grandfather. I feared my grandfather. I'm going to tell you, I loved him. But when he got aggravated with me, he would say, "Him, boy, come here." I don't even know what him means, but he would say it all the time. And I would come running. If he walked through that door today and said that, I would stop teaching and go right back there. I feared him so much. We should fear God Almighty. The third section from last week was verses 8 through 9, which talks about the enduring fact of oppression and injustice. You know, oppression and injustice is a way of life, period. It started with Cain and Abel. When Cain slew Abel, do you think that there was injustice and oppression there? Yes, there was, and it's been in the human existence ever since. Verse 10 through 12, we started getting into the vanity of wealth and materialism. We in America depend and want things more than probably has ever existed in the history of mankind. Would you mind sitting over here? I'm trying to get everybody in the middle. That will help a lot. I'm sorry? Okay, well, I'll ask her to come over. Verses 10 through 12 talks about the dissatisfaction of the accumulation of wealth. And it's true. There is no satisfaction in life from money. We think that there is, but there is not. We're going to dive into that this week. Today, we're going to talk about verses 13 through 17. Verses 13 through 17 is the uncertainty of wealth. Wealth is not a certain thing. You can have it today and lose it tomorrow. And we'll speak to that. And then we'll also do 18 through 20, which talks about making the best of a bad situation under the sun. What does under the sun mean? When you see that in Ecclesiastes, what does that mean? It's life here on earth. He's not talking about eternity. He's talking about the life and existence that we have for the 70 years that God may give us here on earth. He's talking about the life under the sun. Here physically is what he's talking about. Let's go and look at verse 13, and I'm going to read through 17. There is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely riches kept for the owner thereof to their hurt. But those riches perish by evil travail. And he begetteth a son, and there is nothing in his hand. As he came forth of his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and shall take nothing of his labor, which he may carry away in his hand. And this also is sore evil, that in all points as he came, so shall he go. And what profit hath he that hath labored for the wind? When he says labored for the wind, what does he mean by that? We talked about that a few weeks ago. It's laboring for things that you can't grab. Go out and try to grab the wind. That's what laboring for things is like, laboring for the wind. All his days, verse 17, all his days also he eateth in darkness, and he hath much sorrow and wrath with sickness. The uncertainty of wealth. Money is a fleeting thing in life. You get $10,000 and try to hang on to $10,000. There will be something in life that you're going to need to spend that money on. It is a very fleeting thing. Let me ask you this. Today, who currently is the recipient of all the wealth that Solomon had when Solomon was king? The wealthiest man in the world. Where is all that money today? It is a fleeting thing. Money leaves us very quickly. I've told you before about a guy named Clarence Saunders. Does anybody remember who Clarence Saunders is? If you go to the Pink Palace Museum here in Memphis, that was built by a man named Clarence Saunders. He was the guy that founded the Piggly Wiggly grocery store chain. He also invented something called, this is a 1930s term, but the cadoozle. And you know what the cadoozle was? It was a thing that could scan items. He invented that. He became a very wealthy man. Where's his money at today? Even his children. Where's all the money that he accumulated? Money is fleeting. I could name many more people. J.P. Morgan. The children of J.P. Morgan do not have as much money as J.P. Morgan had when he was alive. Money is fleeting. I could say the same thing about Andrew Carnegie. Where's all the billions that Andrew Carnegie had? There are some trust funds where people have used, but his family has lost the money. I could say the same thing. We're seeing the same thing happen with a guy that started a little grocery store in a little five and dime store in Arkansas. Sam Walton. He was the richest guy in the world at one point, and the money is beginning to dwindle. My point is, the things that we fight for in life and we strive to get is very fleeting, even for the richest among us. Money is fleeting. I could talk about Rockefeller. Today, we know the names Warren Buffett, and we know Bill Gates, and we know Jeff Bezos. And I make a prediction. I probably won't be around long enough to see it, but my grandchildren will probably see the day where those three are not the wealthiest people here on earth. There's going to be some other person. The point is, money is fleeting, and we need to be careful about driving our activities of life to be all about money. Do you understand and see what I'm saying? It is the truth. But we still, every day, wake up with the desire to get more and more and more money. But I think Solomon is saying something more than that in this point. He's saying this, that it's evil, it is wrong when the rich keep money for themselves and they spend it upon their own lust to their hurt. It can apply to people that aren't extremely wealthy. I take money, and if I use it only for me, do you know who that benefits? Not even me. It hurts me. It's to my hurt. I would ask, what are we doing with the money that we have? Solomon's very clear about what he says he has discovered and what we should do with money. Wealth does not bless the life of every rich person. We think that they're so lucky, don't we? If we're honest, we think, Rachel, hi, Rachel. Just trying to get everybody in the middle. I can focus better. And well, that was the last one? No, I don't. Thank you. Money does not bless the life. We think that people that have money have life by the tail. that they can do whatever they desire because they have money. But Solomon very clearly says it's to their hurt. I think it is incumbent upon wealthy people to use their money justly, rightly, and for others. As an aside, what are we doing with the dollars that we have for somebody else? This principle is not only for people that have billions, like the guys that I just named. This principle is for us too. And I read a book probably 40 years ago about Jewish principles for business. And this was an ongoing principle for centuries among Jewish business people. The first customer of the day, I'm going to give them something. If a Jewish guy owned a shoe store and the first customer would come in, he would throw in socks or shoe polish or something that he's given away. He knew it was a principle to think about doing something for somebody else. And I think it's a principle that we've lost in this society where we forget about doing for others. But it's a principle that we need to vitalize and begin doing, where I'm looking for what I can do for you. And it's how we should live. And Solomon is saying that the money that people have should be used justly, rightly, and for others. But when the rich consume their money on their own lust, it will hurt their life. In 7-8 years ago, I was in Lake Tahoe for a business conference. And I don't know if you know about Lake Tahoe. It is expensive. It's a beautiful place, but it is expensive. And I was in a nice hotel. It was a really nice hotel. And I met a guy in the lobby, and he looked, if I'm being candid, like a bum. He looked like a guy that was aimless in life, that had no direction in life. He didn't work. He wasn't trying to do or achieve anything in life. But I found out something. He was a trust fund baby. I say baby, he's probably 35 years old. And this is what he did with his whole life. He skied during the day. And he partied at night. And he didn't lay a lick doing any work. Wealth to their hurt. That guy had a miserable, pitiful life to his hurt. That's what money will do when we don't do it, use it right. I've already told my kids, y'all ain't getting nothing. Grandkids are. We need to watch out how we let money drive our interaction and decisions with others. Yes, sir.
Just to comment on that, one of the things I struggle with in life is grew up with, relatively little money. We didn't have much. My father was a carpenter, decided to work as a government clerk. But I never learned to spend money. I was always told my father to just squirrel it away. And I was thinking about that verse there about riches kept for the owners thereof to their hurt. It really hurts. And somewhere else in the Bible it talks about that God intends for us to use what He's given us. And He wants us to live appropriately, modestly, surely not above or below. I've always lived below my means, but I lived too far below my means. I never got that memo. I got the memo, but it took some time.
I'm the same way. I was raised in an extremely, I would describe it a poor family. I've told the story a number of times, many times, that I can remember coming home and the lights not being on, bill not paid. So I have taken the route that you took, and I've lived very much below my means. But I can tell you the thing in life that has helped me see life better is looking for people that lived like I lived as a kid and seeing what I can do for them. And I can tell you, there is no greater joy that I've found in life than doing something for somebody that I can help. The Bible tells us, and I'm totally paraphrasing, I can't remember the exact quote. I know it, but I can't remember it. But it is, if it's in my power to do something for somebody, I should. And I found out that is not to my hurt. I found out that keeping it and consuming it on things I want is to my hurt. But doing and helping, and that's not saying, oh, you need 100 here. It's not saying that at all. But it's being prudent and looking, man, I can do something there, and doing it. And it gives a level of joy that cannot be gotten by keeping what I have. It can't be. It can't be. And that's what Solomon is saying here. It is a true point that we need to grab onto. You know, and the Christmas time of year, it's a great time. And I guarantee you this, everybody here that gets a present for somebody you love and you give it to them, it is truly more blessed to give than receive, isn't it? Why don't we do that year round? Why don't we do that all the time? Looking to see who I can help and who I can do something for. And get that joy that we get this time of year when we give a present. It's available to us. We just have to decide, I'm not going to consume the money I have on my own lust. I'm going to look to see what I can do for somebody else. That's what Solomon is saying here. I don't want to be that trust fund baby. Man, he was miserable. I couldn't even believe it. I really thought he was just a bum. But he had 5 times the money I have. And I'm thinking, man, what a life. I don't want that. I don't want to live like that. It's not good. Anyway, I don't know if that helped Roy at all or not, but let's go to verse 14. Sir?
That's where you go when you realize that you don't, appropriately spending, giving, and saving.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Solomon, I think I'll get into that just a little bit in these further verses. Verse 14, but those riches perish by evil travail, and he begetteth a son, and there is nothing in his hands. He's saying those riches perish through misfortunes. When we're the ones that are keeping things for ourselves, they perish through misfortune. You know, what is the intent of labor in our life? Let me ask you, what is the intent? Is it to get wealth? I say no, and I think Solomon is saying that labor has a bigger purpose, a bigger purpose in life, and it's to realize that the labor that God has given us is not to earn money, it's to have work, because work is good for us. And I need to skip on and go to some other areas because that one verse took 20 minutes and I meant it for it to take 5. You know, wealth can disappear through misfortune. We all lose wealth at death. Josh, the millions that you have when you die, they'll no longer be yours. They're gone. We all lose that. I told you about Clarence Saunders. But what about Commodore Vanderbilt? Do y'all know who that is? At one time, in the 1850s to about the 1880s, the richest man in America. He was in charge of most of the railroads across the country. Where is his wealth today? Let me tell you who he's related to, who is an heir of his. Do y'all know the name Gloria Vanderbilt? It's his granddaughter. You may know this name. And when it got to this guy that I'm getting ready to name, there weren't billions around. They had about $1 million. And $1 million is a lot for most people, but when you compare it to having billions, it's just a very little bit. Do you know who Commodore Vanderbilt's great-grandson was? Anderson Cooper. CNN guy, the weird guy. Had nothing. Was that funny? The weird guy, is that what I said? But these riches perish through misfortune. I'm going to give you an example. I challenge you to do this sometime. I Googled, list all billionaires since 2000 who have lost most of their money. Billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires. I didn't count because there was too many to count. It had A, and it had name after name after name. B, name after name after name. C, name after. It was unbelievable how many billionaires lost all their money. They lose their wealth through misfortune, is what he's saying in verse number 14. There was a lady named Patricia Klug. In 1990, she was worth $5 billion. Today, she's worth under $1 million. There was a lady named Elizabeth Holmes. She was an American inventor and an entrepreneur. She became the youngest self-made female billionaire in 2015. Do you know what her personal wealth is at the time that I read this yesterday? Zero. I'm trying to really get across the point. Money, the things that we fight in life for, that we give all of our energy and our vitality to, is fleeting. It is fleeting in life, yet we still get up every day, and that is what we fight for. If I say the name Alan Stanford, do y'all know who that is? He was a billionaire, Alan Stanford. He is the guy that owned Enron, and I'm probably only the old folks know what Enron is. It was a big, you're one of the old folks. It was a big energy company, a billionaire. He's in prison today. That's how much he has right there. The fleetingness of how it disappears from us. I could say everybody knows Bernie Madoff. The Ponzi scheme guy, large investment company, he's in jail. Multiple billions of dollars. Zero. My point is, I want you to see that money disappears and it's fleeting and it's something that we can't put our trust and our faith in. But we do. If we're honest, we do, don't we? Verse 15 and 16 together because they're combined. As he came forth of his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and shall take nothing of his labor, which he may carry away in his hand. And this also is sore evil. That sore evil means it's severe evil. That in all points as he came, so shall he go. And what profit have he that hath labored for the wind? Again, trying to get something that you cannot grab. Solomon, it's amazing if we think about the time frame that Solomon lived. Do you know who was ruling Egypt at the time that Solomon was reigning in Israel? It was the pharaohs. And he saw all that they did for their life after death. And Solomon realized, you can't take any of it with you. I don't know what those guys down there in Egypt are doing. They're building these big pyramids and they're putting all their wealth in there. You can't take it with you. He's saying, just like little Joshua came into the world about, I don't know how many years ago, 40 years ago, just a naked little bundle of, that's how much you're going to take out. That's what you're going to take out. That's it. I think about that a lot as I have gotten older. 62, and there's nothing I'm going to take with me that is under the sun, except the Bible says in the New Testament, I can lay up my treasures in heaven. Those are the things that really matter, is what am I doing for others? Laying up treasure in heaven. That's what will really matter. I took a philosophy class in college, and it was the most useless class I've ever taken in my life. I mean, but I had to take it. And it was useless. And we talked about the meaning of life. I mean, that was a deep subject. But I can tell you this, money means nothing regarding the meaning of life. Let me give you a little tidbit of thought from Jeff. This is what life is about. It's 5 letters. and it's spelled O-T-H-E-R. That's what life is about. And when we think about ourselves only in life, I will make a prediction. You will be one miserable person, miserable in life. But when you think about O-T-H-E-R, you will have joy in your heart. Let me see if I can find something here. I think it's in Matthew. I sent this out as a Bible verse the other day. It really struck me. I think it's chapter 10. Yeah, chapter 10. Look, or chapter 11. Look at Matthew chapter 11. This is the secret to not having the burdens of life on us. Chapter 11, verse 29. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. What am I learning from him? I am meek and lowly in heart. You know what he's saying there? In my life, I am spending my life doing for others. And ye shall find rest unto your soul. That's where it's at, folks. That is where it's at. It is not in getting for self. It's in doing for others. And that's exactly what Solomon is conveying here. And I only got about 5 minutes. I've talked at the mouth way too much. Let me go to verse 17. All his days all his days also he eateth in darkness, and he hath much sorrow and wrath with his sickness. Who is he talking about? The guy that's consuming money for himself, that's putting all that he has into himself. He has sorrow and sickness. I'm being candid here. I want to be really candid. If you have some money, you worry about it. I don't know who has money, but if you have money, I got to tell you, you worry about keeping your money. It's a worry. If you don't have money, you worry about getting money. Both sides of the coin are all worrying about money, whether you have it or you don't have it. It's the way that life is for us. But with an almost sympathetic tone, Solomon says that the guy that has money, he is a guy he consumes it upon his own lust. He's a guy that has loneliness, sorrow, and anger in his life. In other words, money's unfulfilling. I spent some time Googling yesterday. I said, list every wealthy person that has committed crimes and are in jail. Because I thought, surely people that are poor are the ones that commit crimes because they're wanting things. But as I began Googling the people that are lonely in life, that have sorrow in their life, and that are angry in life, surely they're not the rich people because they have everything they want. But I Googled that, and it was amazing the number of people, the tragedies of life that rich people have because they're lonely and they're sorrowful and they're angry with life. And I didn't list any of them, but there was a huge, long list. I looked at the crimes that people make. Well, surely it's only financial crimes trying to get, no. There's murder, and there's sexual deviances. There's all kind of crimes that are committed by the wealthy. Why is that? Because money does not satisfy. Money does not stop us from having sorrow of life and being angry at the cards that were dealt in life. So many people think, well, I just was dealt a bad hand of cards and I don't have any money. No, that's not what life is about. And I've heard people say that. Let's look at quickly at verse 18 through 20. Let me find it here. Behold, that which I have seen, it is good and comely for one to eat and to drink. And Roy, this is what you were just saying a little while ago. To eat and to drink and enjoy the good of all his labor that he taketh under the sun, all the days of his life which God giveth him, for it is his portion. Every man also to whom God hath given riches and wealth and hath given him power to eat thereof and to take his portion and to rejoice in labor, this is the gift of God. Roy, it speaks exactly to the point you raised a little while ago. God has given some people money for a reason. I think primarily to help somebody out. But he's saying, enjoy what you have, though. You don't have to live in such a pauper-type way that you can't go out and enjoy life under the sun. But don't forget, do not forget about doing something for somebody else. I don't care who the poorest person is in this room. You ought to be looking to do something for somebody else. I don't care who the richest person is in this room. Doesn't matter. You ought to be looking to do something for somebody else. That is what he's saying here. But if you do have money, look to do something for somebody else, but you don't have to live in such an austere way that you can't enjoy life. He's saying, live life, enjoy it, but don't forget about others. Does that make any sense at all? I hope that makes sense. Let's look at verse 20 and we'll be done. For he shall not much remember the days of his life, because God answereth him in the joy of his heart. You know, there is a wonderful thing about being old. You can look back at life and you can start to see the important things of life. You remember, have you ever heard of the good old days? Why do they talk about the good old days? Because those are old people looking back and all they remember are the good things. And those good things usually are when there's great relationships with others, when they're doing for somebody else. They don't remember, well, I did that guy dirty and I was able to get more money in my pocket. They don't remember that. Verse 20, let me read it again. For he shall not much remember the days of his life. The only things he remembers are the good and the right things of his life. Solomon is saying this in chapter 5. If you have money, that's great. Use it right. If you don't have money, that's great. Use it right. But in all of it, look to live for others.